very happy to welcome Kylie Gould from Medilaw. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Welcome.
How much fun is this?
It is so much fun. It's so professional. This is the Personal Injury Education Foundation special studio set up for the National Summit 2023.
Can I just say,
Yes.
I love the palm tree behind you. In all my webinars, I always have plants behind me, so the vibe is perfect.
It's all about the trees. It's all about the greenery. It's all about
Keeping
greening.
it fresh.
Exactly, greening. And I've seen your videos, and yes, you do, and they're very light.
Yes, well, I try to mix up the background behind me each time because sometimes I think when we're doing so much stuff virtually, it can be a bit boring on screen. And when we have the artificial backgrounds, I understand they serve a purpose, but, you know, people move around and they're cutting in and out. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try and be real. Let's keep it real and a bit of fun.
Exactly.
And I like things that look pretty. So.
And as a viewer, the first thing I look at when somebody hasn't got a background on is what's on their bookcase. I don't know if you find yourself doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think, oh gosh, did they really read those books? They look really intelligent.
I bet you there's a lot of books that have never been
read. That's right.
They've probably got a little bit of dust collected.
Now you're here representing Medilaw.
Well, Medilaw Group actually, because Medilaw is part of Medilaw Group. So we actually have Next Health on the West Coast and in Northern Territory, and Medilaw does the East Coast and down south.
Now tell us a bit about what Medilaw Group does.
Okay, well we do over 25,000 independent medical assessments per year. We've got something like 500 specialists that work for us across 53 different specialties. I know that because I've just done a tender recently. And so they're assessing people for all sorts of reasons. We do, obviously, the workers' compensation assessments is somebody's injury as a result of a work-related incident. We'll do the CTP examinations for the same purpose. We do whole person impairment. But we also do a lot of stuff like fitness for duties for somebody that may be unwell and wants to stay at work. How can an employer keep them safe and well at work? We do some work with the life insurers. And more recently, we've been doing a little bit of the institutional and historical abuse assessment. So that's pretty heavy content.
It's heavy. Yeah. And from my understanding, it's an integrated approach. It's not just a single service, single point in time?
Well, it depends on what you're wanting to do. We also have a number of rehab companies in our family, and we can sometimes offer an end-to-end service with those, which is great because it's looking at using our specialists and our allied health professionals in different ways. So, and one of the things we've really been cognizant of is since COVID in particular, the demand for mental health services has skyrocketed and the availability has become compromised for us when we're trying to access it from a clinical perspective, but also when we're trying to use it for independent assessments. So we've got a team of over 80 psychiatrists, which is pretty unique in this market, and we've really advanced the telehealth options to make sure that people are able to access these psychiatrists and have a broad panel to choose from. That's the one great thing. And they're able to get availability quicker than if they're waiting for in-person, particularly if you're in a regional or remote location.
Exactly, yes.
So you've got a bit of choice as well. And honestly, you know, it's been 28 years for me this year in the industry.
Wow.
And when you have talked to people that are suffering with a mental health condition, often going outside of their familiar environment can exacerbate symptoms. So being able to do telehealth from a local, your doctor's office, even at home in suitable circumstances, can just help people to relax a little bit and not exacerbate their symptoms, so the doctors are able to build the rapport effectively and then be able to get far more detail that helps to make the insurer or the employer to make a decision about what's best for that person from a return to work and treatment capacity.
So obviously you recognise there was a gap, a service gap in the market.
Yep.
Now tell me about that and why you've decided to approach it this way and for what sounds to me quite successfully.
Well, obviously the gap started to come about with so many people experiencing mental health issues when we were working in what they call them, unprecedented times.
Yes.
And so I know myself personally, my husband, myself, were both working at home. I had a son doing year 11 and 12 and a daughter doing grade 6 and year 7. We had a dance studio in the house. We had a gym in the house. We had a bike training session in the house. And then we were all trying to coexist. And we stopped counting when we got to 300 days locked up in our own home. And we are not alone. There's everybody that was in, particularly Melbourne, and then in regional Victoria, and then in the other states all experienced this. And there has been a steady increase in the requirement for mental health services. Our psychiatrists are really cognizant of the fact that they need to be available as much as possible for clinical practice as well, and didn't want to expose themselves to the risk. And we've been doing telehealth, I would say probably 15 years we've been doing telehealth in the psych space. So we did a number of white papers and some evidence-based research and the like that we were able to publish. We developed up some resources to assist injured clients that are participating in the assessment. Some technology stuff for the doctors, because they're great clinicians, that's what we want, but technology is not always their strong point. And listening to Ben today, like, we all need to keep up with technology. And then we also did some work for the referrers, so the insurers and employers that are sending people in for these assessments. So they're actually able to explain what to expect and the different ways that we take care of things like consent forms and what happens if someone's psychologically unwell during the course of the assessment. So, because the doctors have a duty of care, obviously. And the take-up has been huge, and the psychiatrists needed to minimise their risk of contracting COVID, so they are still able to respond to acute scenarios in their mental facilities in public and private health, where they're needing to be face-to-face in those environments. And so a lot of them turned to telehealth because all of a sudden, by reducing their commute, they could add an extra appointment or two to their day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were reducing their risk of exposure, etc. And they found that it's actually not, in most instances, it's not affected the quality of the IME at all. So we've found that I think it's something like 70% of our psychs are still preferring to do telehealth assessments. And as I said, we've got a team of over 80, so we're doing thousands of them each year. And it's been really successful. And as I said before, it just also helps, like, one of the things that it's always been a challenge for injured workers is making sure that they feel, not just injured workers, injured clients, because you've got CTP as well, making sure that they feel heard. Once they've submitted a claim, quite often it can be they lose control over what's going to happen to them. It's disempowering. It's a challenging system to navigate if you don't know it and you haven't worked in it. Haven't been exposed. Yeah, well, exactly.
Even if you have, it's
even
still
if you has. And so, it's important to sort of make sure that they're feeling like they're being considered when you're choosing an IME. So the training that I do, I've probably done it 250 odd times now for different customers around the country, in person and online, is around making people understand what happens when someone comes in for an IME. So one, how to prepare for it, how to write a quality brief and give us the right material, but then also the considerations for preparing that person. And one of the things I always say is talk to them about what you've done to consider their circumstances when you've booked the independent assessment. Because going to see a specialist shouldn't be a negative experience. So I always get frustrated when I hear IMEs talked about in a negative way, because used the right way, they're an effective tool, and we're putting people in front of specialists, surgeons, physicians, psychiatrists. It shouldn't be negative. So if we are preparing properly and we know the purpose of the assessment, then we talk to the person about, well, this is the things that we considered when we chose this doctor for you. And by having that telehealth approach for our psychiatrists, all of a sudden those 80 psychiatrists are doctors that you could be choosing from. So you're thinking about, is it a gender-based issue that you've taken into consideration? Is it the fact that you wanted an appointment really quickly and so therefore that doctor was available? Is it because you wanted something towards the end of the day, so you've decided to use a doctor that's based out of WA so you could do something at the end of the day over on the East Coast, but it's still within that doctor's normal schedule on the West Coast? So all those sort of things help to make a better experience for the injured person. So I'm a fan for it for that reason. But with the training, I also talk about, different things that they could do with what to wear for an assessment if you're coming in for a physical appointment, like, prep somebody. If you've got an
exactly.
upper body, so a back or upper limb injury, they're likely to need to disrobe. So if you have been told that, then you can choose, like as a female, I would wear a sports bra. I wouldn't be in some little lacy number and all of a sudden I feel like I've got a little bit more control in the process, as opposed to this is what the insurer's doing to me, my employer's doing to me. And so you're feeling more control, a little bit more respected, and you're more likely to engage with the doctor's opinion. So, so that's just a few of the things that we've been doing.
Just
Sorry,
a few. Just a few.
You should know better than to ask me a question because boom.
That was
How
great.
long have you got? And we haven't even had a wine.
Exactly. We're not even there yet. And speaking of the awards, congratulations, you're a finalist tonight.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
What an honour.
Well
We've got some
deserved.
amazing people that work in our industry.
We do.
Amazing people. And to be selected as a finalist, that in itself is a great honour.
It is.
And I was very humbled by it, very proud of it. And and so good luck to everybody that's a finalist tonight. You're all amazing people. It's an incredible industry to work in. We get to make a difference in people's lives.
Totally.
And the fact that there's that much passion about doing that makes me happy to be working in it.
Well, have a wonderful night tonight.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you for your time today.
Oh,
it's
I love
always
this.
a pleasure. I know. We could do this professionally, couldn't we?
We could.
Thank you
Greg
so
and
much.
Kyle's.
I love it. Probably Kyle's and Greg. But anyway.
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.